Worried about the housing market taking a major dive? Well, Suze Orman said something a couple of months ago that I'd like to comment about after this. Hey everyone, welcome to Minneapolis Living. I'm Nick Sundahl with Acta Homes of Keller Williams Classic Realty Northwest. Before I get into whether we're facing another market crash like we did about 12 years ago, I would love it if you hit the subscribe button. When you're there, ring the bell. That way you're alerted every time I upload new content each week. I will first say that Suze Orman has helped me with bits and pieces of advice when it comes to my own personal finances, and she's helped tens of thousands of people in much greater detail, but she doesn't necessarily come from housing. And the statement she made really blankets the entire United States. Well, guess what? Housing is local. It is something that we have to focus on each individual market. So here in the Twin Cities, doesn't necessarily paint the same picture than if she's referring, say, San Francisco, which she did in this particular article. So when we take a look at a housing market and the overall housing market in terms of the United States compared to where you live, they are vastly different. So let's take a couple of looks at what this looks like here in the Twin Cities. One, we have a housing shortage. We've had a housing shortage over the last 3 to 4 years, and it continues to dwindle. If you look at the city of Minneapolis specifically, we only have 1.5 months of supply. That means if no other properties were to come on the market today, we would sell out of those properties in 1.5 months. Think about that. Typically, it takes 30 to 45 days to close on a house. So that means within the next week or so, all those houses would have been eaten up and closed and sold. So we need houses specifically when it comes to Minneapolis. If you look at the 7-county metro region, which really covers the majority of the people that live in the Twin Cities metro area, we're at 1.3. So it's even less because some people are looking to spread out farther from the city due to, working remotely. So when we look at just in terms of month supply, we are drastically low, which of course keeps prices high. Suze Orman makes a really great point when it comes to the amount of money that people are getting via the stimulus. That extra $600 obviously has disappeared. And now people are going to be failing to make not only their mortgage payments, but their rental payments. And this is where she goes into potentially foreclosures happening and flooding the market. Well, here's the thing. The majority of the people that have either been losing their jobs or furloughed, and I'm not here to make too big of a generalization, many of them are in our service industries because, of course, restaurants, travel, a lot of those things have closed down. Unfortunately, those are a little bit lower paying jobs, and typically they're not homeowners. Now, that goes for the rental market. Now, the rental market doesn't make up a large swath of an overall market in any particular city throughout the country, but here in the Twin Cities, our rental market, one, is very strong, and two, even if the single-family homes or condos or townhouses were to go into, say, a foreclosure process, one, there would be potential forbearance opportunities for whoever owns the home, which they would get about 6 months due to the CARES Act. They also have another 180 days in extensions that they can go about. So they wouldn't actually go into foreclosure for almost a year from the end of this year. So not until 2022 would they actually experience those foreclosures, which gives many people more than enough time to regroup and get their mortgages back to good standing. But here's the thing, even if they don't, the equity that we've seen built over the last, say, 10 years is unprecedented. Over 80% of single-family homes have more than 20% equity in the property. So even if they did go into the foreclosure process, they could actively sell that house and still not be underwater or owe any money. You could go onto the market, sell the home, and walk away with cash. Now, on a side note, if you are facing hardship and you can't make your mortgage payments, contact your servicer immediately. Whether that's your bank or you have a loan servicer that is just, a mortgage company out there, you need to contact them now. They want to work with you. The last thing they want to do is go into foreclosure. That is much more work. It's much more costly for them. So if you can get a level of forbearance, if you can make partial payments, whatever it may be to keep the home or to keep you in good standing with your loan servicer, is going to be good for you in the long run. And if you feel like there is no particular option for you, then you need to talk to somebody about potentially selling your property, because even though there are a lot of people losing their jobs or have lost their jobs and can't make those payments, there are plenty of buyers out there looking for homes, as I mentioned, with the month supply that we have in this particular market. Before I get to my last point, do you have any comments about this? I would love to hear from you below. And also, are you considering buying or selling here in the Twin Cities? I would love it if you reached out. You can call, text, email, hit me up on social media, but I would love to start the conversation with you. Now, here's the last point. Say, for example, we do have a flood of foreclosures that come into the market. She states that, for example, a $300,000 house is now going to be foreclosed on it for $150,000. And now that affects the value of your home. Well, here's the deal. Appraisers, people who work in the market, we actually don't count foreclosures as sales. So just because your home is worth $300,000, your neighbor's is worth $300,000, and they foreclose and goes for $150,000, your house isn't worth $150,000. And the bank that has taken over that property isn't going to sell the house for $150,000. They're going to sell it for a market rate. So keep in mind that just because a foreclosure happens next to you, and this happens even outside of COVID, this happens all the time for people who lose their jobs or have medical bills that pile up. But just because a house goes into foreclosure next to you or in your neighborhood doesn't mean it affects your house the way that somebody sells it on the open market. Not to mention, if we saw homes that went from $300,000 to $150,000, that would be unprecedented. It's never happened in any real estate market in the United States. So I really want to make sure people keep this in mind, that people saying that there's going to be some big market fallout based on COVID, I just don't believe it's true. So this is Minneapolis Living. I'm Nick Sundahl with Acta Homes of Keller Williams Classic Realty Northwest, and I appreciate you watching. Please stay safe, please stay healthy, and I'll see you next time.